In 1991, Bantam Spectra was looking to capitalize on the success of the Throne trilogy and wanted to produce more Star Wars books. They contacted Kenneth C. Flint through his editor to tell him that he had been selected to be one of those authors, stating that Lucas himself had handpicked him. Flint being at this point a veteran author with, by 1991, 12 published books under his belt. He was also a very long-time Star Wars fan and was eager to write what was supposed to be the very first story after the destruction of the second Death Star, along with Jim Biggs' Exiles of the Force, a 4-part comic series to precede it, and Margaret Weis's Legacy of Doom to succeed it. He spent 5 months developing an outline, sending everything to his editor, who was his only connection to Lucasfilm, as he worked for Spectra, not Lucasfilm. By late 1992, he had a draft ready, and sent it to his editor, who later told him it had been approved. Then, his editor ghosted him, and he contacted an agent to see what had happened. His editor had given his slot to another author. Although not officially confirmed, it is most likely that this was The Truce of Bakura by Kathy Tyers that took this slot, which not only takes place a few days after Episode 6, as Ken's book was supposed to, but also was released in December of 1993, when around Ken's book should have been released. Flint did receive a consolation prize of writing Dr. Death, The Tale of Dr. Evanson and Ponda Baba in The Tales of Mos Eisley Cantina, and Old Friends, F. Fontmon's Tale in Tales of Jabba's Palace. He was also eventually able to get back into writing years later and has released several books since. Margaret Weis's book unfortunately fell through due to a disagreement with Lucasfilm, and Jim Biggs' was canceled as well. In 1995, it was officially announced it was canceled by Lucasfilm, and for many other canceled works within the Star Wars Expanded Universe, that would be the end of the story. But for Heart of the Jedi, the story was just beginning. As curiously, on Monday, February 6, 2012, a YouTube channel by the name of Kenneth Flint published a 2-minute 15-second video that appeared to be scans of each page of the first chapter of Heart of the Jedi. Today this video only has 77 views, and the oldest of the 2 comments on it is from 2015. So most likely, not a lot of people saw it. But for a few, there was hope that maybe there was more out there. On Friday, April 25th, 2014, the Star Wars Expanded Universe was officially decanonized. In the wake of this, Joe Bongiorno, a longtime Star Wars contributor who ran the website, and still does, StarWarsTimeline.net, took it upon himself to try and track down those Star Wars stories that were thought to be lost. While some he found were dead ends and did not exist in any form, there were others that did exist, and Heart of the Jedi was one of them. Ken Flint still had it after all of these years, and gave Joe permission to publish it on his website, with some edits, to ensure it would fit within the continuity, and publish it and make it available for free. On Tuesday, May 5th, 2015, he released Part 1 of Heart of the Jedi, including chapters 1 through 4 on his website, StarWarsTimeline.net, with edits to ensure it fit in between The Truce of Bakura and the post-Jedi Marvel comics. He goes over the edits he made and why he made them on his website if you'd like to read more. There is also a full story from Ken about what happened that I summarized earlier. According to the Facebook page containing the Star Wars Legends universe, as Joe's own Facebook page no longer works, Part 2 came out on Wednesday, June 3rd, which included chapters 5 through 8. Part 3 on Saturday, July 4th, which had chapters 9 through 12. Part 4 on Sunday, August 2nd, which had chapters 13 through 16. Part 5 on Monday, August 31st, with chapters 17 through 20. Part 6 on Sunday, October 4th, with chapters 21 through 24. Part 7 on Tuesday, November 3rd, with chapters 25 through 28. And the whole thing was completed on Thursday, December 3rd, 2015. 23 years after being written, fans could finally read this once lost Bantam novel for themselves whenever they wanted for free on StarWarsTimeline.net. And for many other Star Wars stories that were once lost and now found, this would be the end of that story. But for Heart of the Jedi, it continues. As just 3 months and 22 days later, on Friday, March 25th, 2016, at approximately 8:32 p.m. PST, a very active member of the community, Dennis, would take it upon himself to create files for a self-printable version for his own collection through the website Lulu, a self-publishing website. As the book already had a front cover, he stretched out the design to create the spine and back cover in Microsoft Paint to make it match the style of 90s Bantam, which took him, by his estimation, several hours. He posted this to the closed Facebook group, the Alliance to Preserve the Expanded Universe, and shared a link for others to purchase their own. As Lulu is a self-publishing site, these were printed at cost, meaning neither he nor anyone else was profiting from Mr. Flint's work. But those in the community were still scared of Disney Lucasfilm taking it down, so the link was shared out sparingly and only in places that could be trusted to keep the secrets. On Monday, March 28th, he did the same for Abel G. Pena's Skywalkers, another Lost EU novel that we got in 2015. Later that same day, at 11:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, he made a hardcover version available. But unfortunately by then, the word had gone public and escaped the closed groups. And by 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the following day, Tuesday, March 29th, it had been taken down, with Skywalkers going down around the same time. In total, the paperback version was available for only 3 days, 16 hours, and 6 minutes. Due to Lulu shipping times, people hadn't even gotten their copies yet by the time it went down, and many feared they wouldn't get them at all. But they eventually did. Kenneth Flint was, of course, made aware of the situation, and was fully supportive of the people buying their own copies. He even had both a paperback and a hardcover sent to him. All he ever wanted was for people to read his stories. And although the small community that was around at this time that had the link already mostly knew about Heart of the Jedi, he was happy people had gotten their copies. But again, it was a small group. It's estimated that less than 100 total copies of the 2016 version were made, and only those who were seriously invested or connected in a community were able to get one, let alone even hear about it. The masses, despite this self-printing run and the half year of hype from the release schedule on the StarWarsTimeline.net, were still largely unaware that the story even existed. There aren't really any dates for this next time period, but during the intervening time between the Lulu print and what would be to come, Dennis's files had made the rounds across the internet, spreading mainly through word of mouth. People use these files to create their own versions, either on Lulu or other self-publishing books, though the precedent was already out there that any sort of file that would be left on these websites for long would eventually get taken down, and future attempts to make new ones would be even harder. So whenever this would happen, they would go up, put it up, print exactly one for themselves, and immediately take it down, so that the method could be repeated for future use. 4 years, 11 months, and 7 days would pass after the Lulu edition was initially released, before an unknown person listed their own version of a Heart of the Jedi paperback on Amazon. This one was also printed at cost, and according to an update in a description that would be posted much later in this timeline, they did this as they missed the 2016 fan printing, incorrectly stating that it was in 2015, and that they wanted their own copy. This person had knowledge of how Amazon self-publishing worked and was able to do it themselves. After they purchased it, they allegedly forgot about the listing, and for 57 days it stood mostly unnoticed. This changed, however, on the morning of Friday, April 30th, 2021. Early that morning, several prominent members of the community simultaneously began noticing on their own a listing of Heart of the Jedi being recommended to them on Amazon. The timing of these early events is somewhat unknown, as most of the communications were through either text messages or phone calls. But upon confirming that it was real, Matt Wilkins put up an article on the expandeduniverse.com about it, showing people where to go to get it. Shortly after that, Christopher Nelson got to work spreading the news. According to him, quote, I canceled all the meetings I had that day and DM'd everyone I could think of about it on my socials, unquote. This time the cat was out of the bag. Lulu was one thing, but if it was on Amazon, there was no way Disney and Lucasfilm wasn't going to find out. So it was now a race against the clock to make sure people didn't miss out. Because if the last one didn't even last 4 days, surely this one wouldn't be up for long. But people started to notice something. As the day went on, it kept climbing the Amazon charts. At 7:03 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, on April 30th, I began tracking the hourly charts for it, archiving the listing on the Wayback Machine every 4 hours, which is about how frequently the bestsellers lists update on Amazon. My initial intention was to post the results of the entire run after it was all over and it had been taken off of Amazon. But Chris convinced me to make my findings public, and on Sunday, May 2nd, I published the first in a series of articles for the expanduniverse.com tracking how well it was doing on the bestsellers list on Amazon. These, of course, are not indicative of total sales, but which books are selling the most within the previous 4-hour period and then ranking them. By Sunday, according to those hourly sales rates, it was already ahead of every other Star Wars book, with the exception of Thrawn the Seven Sea Greater Good, which had released 3 days prior to us discovering the listing. By 5:06 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it received a 10% discount, theorized to be because so many people were now buying it that the self-publishing could now print them in bulk, thus saving costs for the consumer. By May 3rd, it continued climbing, reaching higher and higher on the science fiction adventures list. By 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it was the second highest ranked Star Wars book, behind only the aforementioned audiobook version of Thrawn Ascendancy, which through Audible credits people essentially get for free. By the next day, 12:30 a.m. May 4th, it had become the #1 best-selling Star Wars book in science fiction adventures, and was only behind the audiobook and Kindle version of Andy Weir's Hail Mary, a book which had come out that same week. By Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 at 9:54 a.m., a bootleg of a book canceled nearly 30 years before was now ranked 26th across all books on Amazon's bestsellers rankings. It had now been up for longer than the Lulu version and showed no signs of stopping. This would end up being its peak, as it steadily lost ground after High Republic Light of the Jedi received a 90% discount on its ebook edition for May the 4th. After peaking, it dropped a bit in science fiction adventures, but steadied out, while slowly falling on the all books category. The rankings continued to fall, and on Thursday, May 6th, sometime between 12:30 a.m. and 12:10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the uploader of the listing updated the description, giving some more context about why they put it up, addressing some rumors, and some other things. If you'd like, you can pause to read it. Additionally, on the 6th, the YouTuber Eckhart's Ladder uploaded a video about the situation, which got a lot more people to discover this once lost EU novel. Initially, he was scared to bring it up due to his following being so large and the chance that he could get it taken down because of that. It now having been up a week since discovery, and with it topping the Amazon charts as it did, he felt that the cat was out of the bag, and he had to shout it out so people could get it before it was inevitably taken down. On Friday, May 7th, at sometime between 4:25 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 7:50 p.m. The uploader once again changed the description, removing the previously updated section and replacing it with a few paragraphs to refer to people to Ken's other works, and reiterate that this was being made at cost and no one was making money off of it, and no theft or infringement was intended or being made. Ken had, of course, like the last time, been made aware of the existence of this listing several days prior, near the very beginning, and gave his blessing just as he had done last time. All he ever wanted was for people to read his book. By Sunday, May 9th, at noon Pacific Standard Time, it had finally happened, and the listing was taken down. In the final days, it had made a bit of a recovery thanks to Eckhart's video, but it never made it to those peaks again. Still, it had lasted on the Amazon an estimated 9 days, 4 hours, and 30 minutes after the community had found it on Friday, April 30th, over twice as long as the 2016 Lulu print was available. While the earlier one was a flash in the pan with only a few who even knew about it, this one was a week and a half long event that got numerous eyes on this long lost novel. An estimated 4,400 copies were sold during that time. Now, after this, many tried to sell their copies on eBay for pretty high prices. But if you must get a hard copy of this for some reason, don't be fooled, because they are going for a whole lot cheaper. In August of 2021, we did have one person making their own copies using the 2016 Lulu files and passing them off as legit 2021 Amazon copies. Dennis, who actually created the 2016 edition, sent him a message on eBay confronting him and got him to eventually back off, though not before he tried convincing Dennis to go along with it and split the profits with him, which Dennis, of course, refused. So if you're looking for these copies on eBay or any secondary sellers, be very careful because there have been copycats since then. And that's where we are today. There are still, of course, people listing the 2021 editions on eBay, and of course, people still printing their own copies. If you'd like your own, I'd advise being careful. Do your research, ask for the inside cover, especially if you want the 2021 one, and make sure the date between it is between April 30th and May 9th, as most of them were sold within that time. But if you just want to read the story, then remember, it's always available for free on Job and Journal's website, StarWarsTimeline.net. The link for that will be in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.